Good morning and happy day to you. Today we are chatting it up with a life coach and a long-time health consultant and psychotherapist with almost 3 decades of experience. And because mental health, mental wellness is so important to us. And so we are here with Stacey Jaundoo today. She's going to tell us how she got started, but also she's going to be giving us some tips on our wellness and our health and how we can live a more fulfilled life through our well being and focusing on our well being. So I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you so much. Stand by. Good morning, and happy day to everyone. Welcome to the Fit Freedom Project. I am so happy today because I have my heart sister on the stage today, Miss Stacey Jaundoo. Thank you for being here, sister. How are
Thanks
you?
for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you
Oh
for
my gosh, you got a new haircut. You
having
looking different.
me.
Oh, I love it. It becomes you. It's so beautiful. I
Thank
want to tell
you.
everyone how we met. And we met because we had the same idea about life and we were living in two different states. We left the country.
You
We
did.
moved to Panama. And so that's where we met. It and as soon as I met you, it was like, oh my God, I know her before, It's been like that. So I'm so glad you're here to share your superpower with everyone. We're going to be talking about mental illness, and this is very important. I want to read your bio so that people will know your superpower. This is Stacey Jaundoo. She is a distinguished life coach, consultant, and licensed psychotherapist with over 26 years of experience serving the Maryland and DC area. She has worked extensively with adults, children, and couples owning private practices in North Carolina and Maryland. Stacy launched Master Life with Stacy Coaching and Consultant LLC, focusing on mentoring new therapists and mental health providers. That's really good. That's very much needed. She also created Cafe Conversations, a platform for mental health professionals to network and receive support. Stacy consults for community based agencies, helping to reorganize psychiatric rehab programs and outpatient mental health centers. Known for engaging or for her engaging, mm, known for her engaging vision board workshops, she offers creative and reflective spaces for participants to map out their dreams. Stacy's multifaceted approach to coaching, counseling, and consulting and psychotherapy continues to make a positive impacts on individuals and communities alike. Yes, thank you for that superpower. We need that in the world. So, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. I'm excited to be here and to be a part of what you're doing. It's such a much needed project. Um,
Yeah.
Fear of freedom. We all have lived in fear, and so we need freedom. We need to find it.
Yes.
And so God used you to create that. And I'm so excited to be a
Oh,
part.
I'm so
Thank
excited.
you
I'm
for
thankful.
having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm so glad and honored to have you on my platform because what people don't know, and we were just having this conversation backstage, and what people don't know is that we are sometimes people see us in the light, but we are also kind of struggling with our fears, our self doubts, our self confidence. And a lot of things like that were happening for me over in Panama. And I did not know that God was going to assign you to be my therapist, unofficial therapist. But because of your work, because of your passion, and because you know what you're doing, you can spot mental health issues and mental illness and you are good with that, you were able to free me. I was able to
Mhm.
be freed and released from a lot of things based on, our conversation. So I am forever so grateful. And I want people to know that if they are out there struggling, that this is one dynamic life coach that could help you, through the challenging times. Like Stacey just said, you just said to me, we don't have to life alone. What did you mean
We
when you said
don't.
what did you mean when you said that?
We don't. I think so many of us suffer in silence, and we put on this mask that when we're around others and what society has created us to be a certain way. And so we have to really know ourselves and have community and be able to surround ourselves by people who love us and care about us and not do life alone. We don't have to do it alone. We don't have to walk this journey by ourselves because we're all going through something, right? And
Mhm.
so sometimes that isolation can lead to other things like depression and, so it's so important to be connected with people, to be connected with others and
It
not life
really,
alone.
really yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you, on
Yeah.
that, and sometimes most of the time we're suffering alone because like you said, because of the society, because of the things that
Mhm.
we think, um, we need to be, or because someone else taught us to be that way, or someone else said that we had to be that way, or we couldn't be this way. So,
Right.
yeah,
The fear
suffering
of
is
being judged, fear of being judged, fear of what
fear.
others might think of us,
That is
and
so true.
just not being our authentic selves because we have these expectations. Society has these expectations. And so we're trying to live up to those so that we can gel and fit in and belong, that sense of belonging. And so
That
we
is
lose ourselves in that. We lose a sight of who we are because we're trying to fit in and live up to others' expectations. So
what can we tell? I mean, that is just so very true. It's very profound because I'm telling you, because it's me. A part of me creating the Theater Freedom Project and all of that happened in Panama.
mhm,
I didn't know what it was going to turn into, but I know that I am my own project. But I know that I lived in a lot of fear of being
mhm,
judged, fear of being isolated from people, and kind of wanting to live up to what others expected of me. You're just telling my story. So, what can people do to stop that? What can women do? I mean, I am just a girl. I'm super girl power. And men, guys, I love you so much, but I am not going to be your coach. What can women do? What can women do to alleviate that pressure? How can we handle this, you know?
Deb, that's a great question. I feel we have to be honest with ourselves first, right? I think it starts there. And once we're honest with ourselves and what our struggles are, then we can move towards healing and freeing ourselves and connecting with others. So it starts with us self examining what's going on with me? What's causing these fears? And how did I get here? And so I think it's important for us to really do some self reflection and really diving into our heart of hearts and moving past what others are thinking of us. And so when we have conversations like this, like you and I connected and just talking, it helps us to know, well, wow, I'm not in this by myself. Like this other person feels this way as well. But many times we don't. We really do life alone. And I said earlier, we suffer in silence. So it's so important to just begin to think about who am I? Where am I? Am I fulfilled? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I okay with me? And just really reflecting on self. And we don't do a lot of that. We don't spend a lot of time on self. We're caught up in the busyness of life and the next, but we're not taking time to truly just bask in self. And there
I
needs to be a
totally
lot
agree.
more of that.
You know what? That's so true. And And I don't know if people or women are afraid, but I know that once I started looking at myself,
Mhm,
not placing any responsibility or blame outside of myself.
mhm.
Having conversations with you allowed me to do that, and I'm happy about looking at myself. This is probably the reason why we suffer in silence, because taking a look in the mirror, it can be difficult, but it's very freeing, and I wanna say
Yes.
that to everyone, that once you do start to take a look at yourself and not to blame anything outside of yourself and reach out for help, that becomes very freeing. You start to live a more honest life. How important do you think journaling is as a
Ooh,
tool to help with
ooh.
this problem of, just taking a look at ourselves and being honest with ourselves? Where does journaling fit in?
Journaling is an excellent tool. Why? Because it's you, pen and paper, or you and keyboard. There's no outside judgments. There isn't another person. So it gives you a chance to just connect with yourself and just to freely write and explore and not feel judged. Journaling is a safe space to really release a lot of what's inside of us. And so it's a tool that I remember using journaling when I was in high school, when I went to college, after college, even later on in life. I just journal, and my journals, I looked at them and I'm like, wow, this is where I was. And then I look to see where I am today. And it's amazing to look at the growth. It's amazing to look at, you know, how far you've come when you've been through some things and you can look at that. And so we're able to see the growth in ourselves. But journaling is very, very therapeutic. And it's something that I always encourage my clients to do, um, especially if they have a hard time articulating or expressing their feelings with others. Journaling is a great way to just get it out without judgment. There's a no judgment zone. So
Mm,
you get it out and that's it.
mhm.
That's
That's
it.
true. I like it. Know what I wish that I would have journaled as a kid? I didn't, and
Mm,
that's interesting. I didn't start journaling until my, early adult life because was started going to
yeah.
therapy, and so they talked about journaling, and now I look back over my journals and
Hmm.
whew, I
Yeah.
can see growth, but I
Yeah.
also was like, "Geez, man, I was suffering back then." Like, I just really did
Yeah.
not wanna be in this life. I had to be
Mm,
honest about that I journaled a lot about suicide. I did not
mhm.
want to be, in this life. I just didn't. I always have felt like it's just so cruel because of the cruel things that are happening.
Yeah.
I see something different now. I do. I see a shift that is taking place. I want to
Mm,
ask you, over almost 30 years
mm.
of experience working in this field, what has been your most rewarding? Because sometimes, we've been working in the field for a long time, but what stands out about being in this space, in this profession over the
You
last
know,
30 years or so?
as I look back on my journey, I actually started out as a social worker. Um, and so I went from
Yay!
Yay!
Social workers.
Yes, my undergrad was in social work, and I was just gonna save the world, right? And so
Yes.
yeah, I looked at just the journey of working with foster families and training people to become foster parents. I myself was a foster parent.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes, just giving back, and that was a reward. It wasn't per se a job in my field,
Mhm,
but to bring children into my home and to give them a life that they would have never gotten before was
mhm,
very fulfilling.
mm,
But professionally, it's amazing to see how God has used me to be an instrument in the lives of others and their transformation. And that's rewarding to me. That, wow, God, like you chose me to do this. And so I put everything back to him. I give that back to him because that's where it started. I've always said, God used me as an instrument, and he has truly just used me. And so from being a supervisor, clinical supervisor, from doing therapy and watching my clients flourish and grow. And sometimes they would reconnect with me just to say, hey, like I am doing well. And my life has transformed, or I no longer struggle with anxiety, or that's just been so rewarding to know that, wow, well done, that was done. And so that fulfills me. And as we go through our careers, we don't stay in the same place forever. So we go from therapy to supervising to other projects, and how else can I be used? And so I'm just amazed at where I am today. And there's a shift from just coaching individuals to coaching professionals,
Yeah.
now coaching those in my field that are feeling alone and isolated, and how am I doing this by myself? And so it's just rewarding. It feels good to know that just a little piece of Stacy has been imparted in somebody else. That's rewarding for
Well, that's good because a little piece of Stacy was imparted. The Holy Father God said, "Okay, Debbie, I already know where you're gonna be at this time, and we're gonna give you a little piece of Stacy." So I am when I bring people, invite people to my show. Some people I don't know, and I've seen them on other shows or whatever. But people have left an indelible
me.
impression in
Mhm.
my life, and
Yeah.
so I am here as a testimony of a little piece of Stacy. I really am, and you can see that knowing from where we were in Panama, a year and a half ago to
Yes,
right now.
yes,
So, yes,
yes,
I'm so very thankful for your superpower and for your passion with mental wellness and
yes,
helping people to life.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes. You are quite welcome.
Yeah. Tell us about cafe conversations. How did that come about?
So, cafe conversations, I started in May, and so what I found myself in a position of providing, I guess, recommendations and advice
Mhm.
to my colleagues, right? Hey,
Mhm.
Stacy, something, something, such with this client. Hey, Stacy. And so I'm like, wait a minute. They're in the profession, but there's tons of questions about setting boundaries,
Yeah.
with clients, or just how do I handle this work-life balance? How do I handle billing? How do I handle so there's just a ton of just information. I found myself on the phone a lot.
Mm.
Just helping to support other clinicians, other providers, nurse practitioners, and mental health.
Mhm.
And so I said, you know what? I think I'm just going to create a platform where everybody can just come together
Aw.
and just have some dialogue, have conversations about what we're dealing with. Because if we're pouring into others, we have to be okay. If we are helping those with mental health, then are we taking care of our own mental health? Are we balancing life? Are we well?
Mhm.
And so that was important for me to create a platform that was safe for other providers to just have conversations about those topics or anything. And so,
Yes. Is it
yeah,
virtual?
it is virtual, it's via Zoom.
Oh,
And
good.
so part two starts next Wednesday from 12 to 1 o'clock. And so
Okay.
if you are a mental health provider or clinician, even in private practice, please join me on Wednesdays. This the third Wednesday of every month. We will meet from 12 to 1. Just a safe place to have conversations and network and support one another through our journey in the field of mental health because we need it. We need that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and I'm gonna make sure that that information is in the show notes, the description, so
yes,
that anyone every 3rd Wednesday, if
yes,
you are a clinician, come and get you some support. This is
yes,
I remember starting in the field of social work coming right out of Howard
Yes.
University grad school. And
Yes.
I remember going right into child welfare.
Mm,
Ooh, what a tough lesson. I think I cried for the first probably 90 days, and it would have
mm.
been really good to have support. I had support from the managers, but my goodness, I didn't know life was like people were out there hurting babies and children. I just didn't know that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, I had no clue, but I was very much empowered. I felt this empowerment to protect children. And so I
Mhm.
did it relentlessly. I was one of the
Yeah.
best social workers in DC. I
Yes.
did it relentlessly. I stood up to judges, attorneys, police officers. I did not care. If it was not in the best interest of a kid, I was going to speak my voice, and I did that very well. So I'm so
Good.
proud of myself for that.
Yes.
But the cafe conversations is really, really important. So if you are out there and you're starting in this profession, or even if you're old in this profession,
Absolutely, absolutely.
this is a
Yeah.
place where you can have some conversations and get some support and bounce things off of, your sister clinicians. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what are some of the challenges that you face and that with coaching clinicians? Are there any challenges with coaching clinicians? Not so much with the clients that we serve, because
Mhm.
sometimes we know there are some challenges, but what about coaching? Are clinicians coming with doubts and, fears and all of these things?
They really are, especially those that are starting out in private practice
Okay.
and trying to navigate, um, their practice. It's
Mm,
a lot because so I always say I stay in my lane, right?
yeah.
So my lane is helping and counseling and therapy and coaching. We don't want to do marketing. We don't want to do billing. We don't want to do any administrative things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, if we want to have a practice, it just comes with the territory.
Mm,
And so sometimes they have those fears. Will I be successful? Will I get the clients? And so afraid to launch, afraid to step out there, and a lot of doubt. Will I be able to handle a difficult client? Will I be able to, how to? So there's a lot of how tos.
mm,
So part of my coaching with them is to help them maneuver those how tos because it is a challenge. It is a challenge. And we all need mentors. We all need supports. And so part of my goal is to help providers gain the support that they need so that they can feel confident about the work that they're doing and that they were called to do. So as far as challenges, I feel like they're coming and they're teachable. They're like sponges that want to
oh,
absorb
that's good.
all of the information that's there because they don't know. And this is
Yes.
new for them. Um, but I don't have any specific challenges that I've run
Mhm.
into yet. Not that I won't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, but that's good. We don't have to have any challenges, and it's good when this is a very safe space for people to be that are starting
yeah,
out in the profession. And so, yeah,
yeah,
like you said, like I know I would have been like, what do I do? How do I do it? Just like that
yeah,
sponge. So
yeah. Now supervising clinicians, that's a whole different ball game, right?
you sound like my sister Shantia. Yeah.
Now, when you're supervising and we got to review your progress notes and it's not in a specific order or your treatment plan isn't
Oh
right.
gosh, the notes.
Uh,
Oh,
so,
all of my dear colleagues and friends, the notes, the
oh,
writing,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's always a piece, but it has to be
yeah.
done,
It
all right?
has to be done.
Yeah,
Documentation. Yep.
there has to be
Yes, sir.
documentation. If it's not documented, it didn't happen,
It
and
didn't
if you
happen.
right,
It
right,
did
so
not
we
happen.
all know that, all
Yeah,
right? So let's
yeah.
get that part together. Um So you've worked in various roles, and you worked for the state, and then you created your own business, and that's sort of a shift. That's a big shift
Yes.
in working for someone and then working for yourself. How did you manage the shift? Was that easy for you in terms of
Mhm.
your own mental wellness?
Mhm. Great question. So, my profession started out as a school counselor. And like you, I was going to save those kids. I was determined to help them. Um, and I was that person for them. However, little did I know that being a school counselor came with a lot of administrative tasks. And so I found myself being more of an administrator versus being a counselor. And I experienced burnout um, quickly. I was a school counselor for 13 years, and things had changed. It went from, I guess, student centered to data driven. Everything was about data, data, data. And so I began having chest pains. My health was not well. My blood pressure had escalated really high. I had several emergency room visits, and I said something had to change. Um, and so the demands of that really pushed me into the private practice field. And so I began my first private practice in the state of North Carolina, in Charlotte. And I did that for 10 years. And that shift was hard because it was very different from school counseling where everything was laid out for me. Private practice, I'm starting from scratch. I had no idea how to get a business name. I had no idea how to do any of that. And so it was very overwhelming. And there were times when I wanted to just give up and say, well, no, maybe this isn't for me. But something kept tugging at me that I couldn't just give up. And so the shift for me came when I made that decision that I was going full ahead and not turning back. And I hadn't. So our health, I think, if you love yourself and you make your health a priority, it really forces us to make some changes in our lives. And that's where I pivoted because I love me too much to not be well to do the job that I was created to do. And so I felt alone. It was a lonely path for me. But I had a friend that I met that we're still friends today, Nicole Gilliam. She was a chiropractor, is a chiropractor in Charlotte. And she was in private practice and she just kind of held my hand and she was like, Stacey, you can do this, you got this. And so she helped me with starting the business, with how to go to the Secretary of State and all of that. And my mentor, Dr. Carl Barm, we're still in contact today. He has guided me and helped me through my journey. And so just having people in my life has really helped me become who I am today. And of course, support from friends and family. But it's a lonely road. And sometimes giving up is easy.
Yeah.
Mm,
What?
it's
That
easy,
is easy.
right? Right. I just won't do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I totally get you. And
Yeah.
well, good for you that you had a mentor and that you were able to keep going.
Yeah.
That's very important not to give up. I understand that now.
Yeah.
And but yeah, whenever I got out of grad school, I wanted to save the world and I was going to do that without
Yeah.
fail. And I
Right.
did have mentors along the way too that kept me grounded and say, you can do that because this work is very taxing. And I know what you mean when I decided to leave the profession.
Yeah.
Because I can hear people saying, Dr. Carson, like, where are you going to be? I don't know where I'm going to be. Don't depend on
Yeah.
me. I'm trying to empower you guys to do X, Y, and Z
Yeah.
when I'm gone because I could be gone. And
Mhm.
taking that leap of faith was like I was terrified. I really was terrified because
Mhm.
when you are retiring from a state position, let's just
Right?
start state position,
That,
okay?
yeah.
We're not talking about private practice money. We're not talking about,
Yes.
we talking about state position,
Yes.
and then you
Safety,
got
health insurance,
health insurance, all of that.
listen.
So yeah, you gotta be like connected to a source. And I just heard God say, do it. So I was
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm gonna do it, but you better be
yeah,
sure. That's what I told God. You
yeah.
better be sure about this.
And
But
you
yes,
know what? It takes a special kind of people or persons to step out on faith. Because I watch so many, even now, some of my friends who are still grinding as
yeah,
school counselors, and it's stressful. Burnout is real.
it
And
is.
so we've got to pivot and make some decisions that will allow us to be okay in life,
Mhm, mhm.
you know?
And choose. I think choosing my well-being was one of the most important decisions that I
Mm.
could make, because like you said, even as a social worker, I did administrative work because I was just the bomb. I was well-rounded, not only could I, of course do
Right.
direct services and social work, but my principals, I worked for a couple of really good principals, and he really relied on me because
Mhm.
he didn't have good administrators. And so I was it.
Right. That,
Then, like you
yeah.
said, it's like, oh, now I'm in the emergency room. I'm having to take off. I'm having
Mhm.
heart palpitations. I am
Right.
anxious. I'm feeling all of these things
Yeah.
because I'm not in my lane. I'm in everybody's
Mhm.
lane.
Right.
you know?
Right.
And
Right.
so that became overwhelming. So I'm glad that you were able to shift. What trends are you seeing in mental health trends that are shifting now? Anything new? What are you seeing in this area in terms of mental health? I
Mm.
see a lot of trends. What do you see?
So I would say since COVID, since the pandemic,
Mhm.
ooh, it has really, there's been a rise in, mental health
Yeah.
services. I also believe there's become an awareness of mental health, right? And so
Mhm.
the pandemic brought on lots of grief, loss, anxiety, isolation, depression, financial struggles. And so our field just boom, it just bloomed. And so lots of opportunities for us. However, lots of people that are suffering, lots of people that are hurting. And I think those who were suffering in silence,
Yeah.
they felt it was okay to seek help. It's
Yes.
okay to see a therapist.
Mhm.
Um, Early on, you see a therapist? Yeah. What? Why?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
You
My
can't
daughter
be
said
any of this.
everybody should have a therapist. Like, oh,
Yes.
okay, you have a therapist. You have a
You should be assigned a therapist upon birth. This is your therapist.
yes, yes. So
I
just
believe
an
that.
increase. And so there's even a shortage of therapists. We're
It
finding
is.
that the supply and demand
What do
of
you think that is? Because that is so true. What do you think it is?
the it started with I believe it started with the pandemic,
Mhm.
where the increase in mental health and mental illnesses just
Oh,
became
yeah.
very prevalent. So it rose, and because of that, now a lot of clinicians went into private practice.
That's okay, yeah, yeah, okay.
So you have where, oh, I work for this company. Now here's an opportunity for me to go in business for myself.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so, and
I
not
think
everybody can service everybody also. And
that's
so we have to be mindful of staying in our lanes and knowing, you know, what our specialties are, and so that we can be effective in providing the services that's needed.
mm.
So there is definitely a demand for us, but there is a shortage. And it breaks my heart
Yeah,
when people are reaching out. You're talking about the insurance companies, and as providers, we have to be paneled with insurance companies. Do you take my insurance? Do you not? I have to find somebody who
yeah.
does. And so I wish all of that just changes,
Mhm.
that America sees that there's a need, and maybe there'll be a shift with insurances.
Yeah.
And that won't be a barrier
Mhm.
to individuals seeking help.
Yes, yes. I totally agree. I really
Yeah,
do. I agree with that so much.
yeah,
COVID was a reset for the world, and there were a lot of I mean, people had to be in the house and they had to be around each other. And there was a lot of DV. There was a lot of,
mhm,
child abuse and child neglect. I'm sure
yeah,
unintentional, but people had to work and they had to eat.
yeah, yes,
So, there was a lot of things going on. So you're right. A lot came out of COVID, but we have to be diligent in making sure we understand how impactful these things have been to people's mental
mhm,
health and their mental wellness. And just as a society, as a country, we should pay more attention to mental
yes,
health.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gotten a lot better. It has.
yeah, I am
It,
happy about that.
yes, yeah, yeah. One of the things that as a clinician, and when we're working on this statewide is reciprocity, and so take for example, if I see a college student in Maryland, and that college student goes to UPenn, right?
Mhm,
And they're home for the summer, so I'm meeting with them. But now they're returning back to school. And this student suffers from clinical depression. Now, as a clinician, if I'm not licensed in that state,
mhm.
I'm not able to meet with them. And so then
Really?
service, yes. And so we're working on that to change that because
Yeah.
there's just, yeah,
That's a barrier to
it's a
service.
very,
We
yes,
need to remove barriers to services for
yes,
everyone. Yes.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely,
Mhm. I
absolutely.
totally agree with you on that. Well, we are running out of time here, and I got a list of questions, but I'm not going to hold you hostage here all day long.
Go ahead and ask me questions.
But you pretty much have answered a lot of them within the conversation. What are you most excited about in life right now?
I am a Gigi. I am a new grandmother to a 1-year old Carter. And so that's been my joy. So I'm excited about him being here on this earth and how much he's just like transformed all of our lives. Um, so he's my first excitement. But I'm also excited about what's new and upcoming. I am continuing the Catholic conversations, but I'm also working on an online course to help mental health professions find work life balance. And so that's my new project that I'm excited about and can't wait to get it out there. Again, we have to be okay in order to provide services to others. So I just want to provide tools and um, techniques and provide information so that mental health providers and practitioners in our field can have a guide to help them get the support that they need. So that's my upcoming project that I'm
Well,
excited about.
I am happy about your upcoming projects because we and you are going to continue
Yeah,
to help support and nurture new professionals and
yeah,
clinicians in this area, and I'm just really excited about that because of what you have done in my life. And I know that you are welcome back here. This is what I was going to say. You are welcome back to the Fear to Freedom Project when your course
yeah,
gets up and running, so that we can get that information out to people, at least on my platform and all of the other platforms that are connected to me. So I appreciate that. You
yeah.
have
Thank you.
any words of wisdom for someone that is just starting out in the mental health profession? What do they need to look for? What should they do? Just starting out in mental health, just coming out of
Mhm.
grad school, or not really just coming out of grad school, but making a shift. They're going to be making a shift to their own private practice. Somebody is like looking at this, is going to see this and say, I can do it. I know I
Mhm.
can do it. She did it. I can make the shift.
Mhm.
What would you
Well, one, join Catholic Conversations with Stacey. And find a mentor, get connected with someone, because when you do, you will have that support that you need and not feel like you're in this journey by yourself. I think it's so important to, make connections with others. Don't feel like you're going to save the world, because we're not saving the world. If we save one or two, that's great. But just be realistic about your expectations and set goals for yourself. Set realistic expectations so that you're not overwhelmed in the field. But certainly find a mentor, someone that you can connect with, someone who will guide you through your journey so that you can, be successful in the field and feel like you're impacting um, those who you were called to reach. So that would be my takeaway. Get connected with a mentor to
Mm,
help you.
mm. Well, that's perfect. So you heard it right here on the Fear to Freedom Project. We are bringing you inspirational stories. We are bringing you really, really profound resources to help you in your journey in life. I always say that we are here to walk each other home. So remember, you don't have to life alone
Yes.
because there are so many. That's coming from my sister Stacey Jaundoo. You don't have to life alone.
Mhm.
We are here to support you. So we thank you and we appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, if you are new to this channel, listen, welcome to the Fear to Freedom Project and like and subscribe if you are a returning champion. I love you. Thank you for all of my family that's telling me I'm looking at your YouTubes and I'm looking at your channel and following. So thank you so much. And we love you. Peace and love. All right.